Welcome, and thank you for taking the time to visit our website today. This presentation is an overview of PBOT's ADA Title II Public Right-of-Way Transition Plan. A transition plan is required for public agencies with 50 or more employees. A transition plan is required to explain how an agency will identify barriers to access, how the agency will remove those barriers, and how the work will be prioritized. It is also required to identify a schedule to implement and update the plan, a complaint process, and the person responsible to implement the plan. In the public right-of-way, PBOT is responsible for pedestrian signals, curb ramps, sidewalks, parking, and transit stops. Additionally, PBOT is responsible to be sure there is full access to all its programs. Evaluating our policies, practices, and procedures will be part of the transition plan effort. Our transition plan includes information on our commitment to equity, the laws we follow, and a glossary of terms and acronyms, among other topics. This presentation focuses on the required elements of a transition plan discussed earlier. Section 3 of the transition plan explains how PBOT will identify barriers to access through inventories and evaluations of pedestrian signals, transit stops, accessible parking spaces, and sidewalks. PBOT has completed much of the curb ramp inventory, but there will also be curb ramp inventory collected each year. PBOT will collaborate with other agencies where there is shared responsibility for compliance, such as with TriMet for transit stops on PBOT right-of-way. PBOT's approach to removing barriers is explained in Section 4. Barrier removal occurs through planned or existing projects where we are repairing, replacing, or building in the public right-of-way. We also remove barriers through PBOT programs identified in Section 5, such as Safe Routes to Schools and the Neighborhood Street Program. Where appropriate, public right-of-way projects by others, such as developers or utility companies, also address non-compliant elements. Requests or concerns submitted by Portland residents for curb ramps or sidewalks is another way locations are brought into compliance. These pictures provide an example of what building compliant curb ramps on non-compliant corners looks like. The first photo shows a detour sign redirecting pedestrians around our work zone. The second shows a demolished corner. The third photo shows the finished project, a corner with 2 compliant curb ramps. This photo shows what an entire intersection looks like when each of its 4 corners has been reconstructed to provide 8 compliant curb ramps. In Section 6 of the transition plan, we discuss how we will prioritize the work. PBOT is operating under a consent decree for curb ramp construction. That agreement has a prioritization strategy that focuses on areas in this order. 1. Government offices, schools, parks, and other public facilities. 2. Transportation corridors. 3. Hospitals and other medical facilities. 4. High employment areas. And 5. Residential neighborhoods. To the extent possible and where applicable, the transition plan implementation will follow this same strategy. Section 8 of the draft plan includes a matrix of the plan's 20-year implementation schedule. The first 5 years are individually represented, and activities are identified for each year. The next 15 years are rolled up into 3 5-year increments. This section of the plan also identifies that we will annually report on our progress and that we will update the plan at least every 5 years. The plan updates will be based on review and evaluation of progress and will provide more details for work in the later years. Public input on this plan is essential to ensure the final version represents the needs of transportation system users. We hope you will take the time to read the draft plan and provide your feedback via our survey. If you are interested in a more interactive review of the plan, please register for one of our online open houses. Thank you for your time and interest.